Chapter 8. The next morning, still tired from our celebration and the wicked worries of the night before, we walked downstairs to find the shock of Daddy Sparky still seated in the front window. Yes, we had put him there ourselves, but he was still a shock. And there was something sad about him. He looked so lonely there, Petty said, sitting all by himself. So then Annie got the idea that he shouldn't be alone. Even before breakfast, she had us all go back upstairs to Mommy's great big closet where she kept a wardrobe dummy. Besides being a scientist, Mommy was a great seamstress. Here, Annie selected a purple sleeveless dress and a string of pearls. Let's dress Sally, she said. Sally being our name for the dummy. Then she sent Dorinda to the tower to get one of the wigs out of her costume trunk because she said the dummy looked silly bald. Once we had the wig in place, Annie had us carry Sally downstairs. Then she had us stand Sally in the front room, not far from where Daddy Sparky was enjoying his morning pipe. There, she said, satisfied. Now Daddy won't be lonely. What's more, when people look in from the outside, they won't wonder why they only see Daddy here, but never Mommy. But, Rebecca pointed out, won't they find it strange that Daddy is always sitting and Mommy's always standing? The dummy was stiff. I suppose, Annie said, they'll think Daddy is a man of leisure, which he somewhat is, being a model, and that Mommy waits on him hand and foot, which she never does. What about them always being in the same spot? Rebecca asked. I'll devise a rotating schedule, Annie said. We'll keep them in the front room in the mornings. It's nice to think of them chatting there after breakfast, but then we'll move them to the other rooms, the drawing room in late afternoons for tea, the dining room for formal, and so forth. If they get too cold, we can always send them to the beach in the summer room. So that's what we did. And thanks to Annie, we now had a Mommy and Daddy again. Well, sort of. Don't you think, Rebecca had one last question, people will think it's odd that Mommy's wearing a summer dress in the middle of winter? No, I don't, Annie said. Everyone knows Mommy's a bit odd. Another week went by, Annie in charge. As the yellow cupcakes with chocolate frosting made the rounds at Will's in-school birthday celebration on Friday, the McGee presented Will with her tidily wrapped gift. When he opened it up, we saw that she'd got him a deck of sports trading cards. Soccer. Will didn't like soccer. Ooh, Georgia said, and he kicked her under the table, encouraging her to be nice to the McGee. I've always loved soccer. Black and white balls, Rebecca added, not wanting to get kicked. Those have always been my favorite color for balls. Soccer, Jackie observed, no kicking or threat of kicking at all. It's the wave of the future, isn't it? I wish, Zinnia said with a sigh, someone would give me soccer trading cards. Really, any present at all would do right now. It's a terrific present, Will said to the McGee, stoutly. Honestly, no one's ever given me anything quite like it before. The McGee beamed. Maybe, we thought, she wasn't so bad after all. Then she told Annie to not touch the cupcakes, just in case she still had that stomach virus she had before, and we thought, yes, she was that bad. So what if Annie hadn't been able to enjoy any of the frosting at Will's in-school birthday party? There was sure to be plenty of frosting on hand at his real birthday party at Kids Castle the next day. The next morning, we arose with greater excitement than we'd had on New Year's Eve morning. We were going to a party. Too bad Annie made us all dress in dresses. It's what Mommy would have you do, she said when we objected. But it's Kids Castle, Georgia said. Besides, Rebecca added, Mommy isn't here, or Daddy. Doesn't matter, Annie said. If she were here, she would tell us even scientists should look like ladies, unless they're men, of course. It was true. We couldn't deny it. Mommy would say that. What about you? Rebecca sneered at Annie. No dress? I'm still the driver. Annie held up her daddy disguise. So I get to wear this. Then she ripped the fedora off Daddy Sparky's head. At Kids Castle, Annie pulled the Hummer around back so no one would observe her dive into the back seat wearing her daddy disguise and then emerge in a frilly dress. She'd even stuck a bow in her short hair. You'll make everyone suspicious, Rebecca scoffed. With that bow in your hair, you don't even look like you. But Annie ignored her. It took Jackie, Marcia, Petal, and Zinnia all working together to carry in the huge present we'd gotten for Will. Annie, Dorinda, Georgia, Jackie, Marcia, Petal, Rebecca, Zinnia. How good of you all to come, Mrs. Sims said. We really liked Will's mother. She always got her names right. My, how pretty you all look, Mrs. Sims went on. I have trouble dressing one boy, but look at the job your mother does with 8. Annie scowled at this. Our appearance that day had nothing to do with our mother and everything to do with her. And what an enormous birthday present, Mrs. Sims clapped. I'm sure Will love it, whatever it is. But where are your parents? All around Kids Castle there were parents everywhere, and not a single pair were ours. It was enough to drive a person to drink juice boxes. They just had some errands to run, Annie said. Don't worry. Will was playing with Mandy Stenko on the jungle bars, but when he saw us, he came over. He had on dressy clothes, his hair slicked back. I'm really glad you all could make it, Will looked relieved. Who could blame him? Without us, he had been stuck with just Mandy. We wouldn't miss it for the world, Zinnia said. So, you're 9 now, Rebecca punched Will lightly on the shoulder. Will rubbed his arm. Apparently the punch hadn't been that light. Don't worry, Will said amiably. You'll get there too. I mean, if you just keep getting older, it's bound to happen, right? Mrs. Sims showed us where to put our present, which we had wrapped as well as we could. We placed it next to the only other present. Who wrapped your present? Mandy Stanko shouted to us from where she was swinging upside down on the jungle bars. Your cats? It was sadly true. Our present did look ratty, at least the wrapping paper did, when we placed beside Mandy's perfectly wrapped one. Our mother, Annie replied with the testiness of Georgia or Rebecca, was too busy coming up with inventions to save the world to bother with something as silly as wrapping a present perfectly, especially when Will is only going to rip the paper off. Will rescued the moment by inviting us to join in the play. But that wasn't as much fun as it normally would have been because Annie kept yelling at us not to hang upside down or do tumbling. But we have tights on, George objected. Doesn't matter, Annie said. This really was too much, for although Mommy would have made us wear dresses to a party, she would never have stopped us from hanging. A woman, Mommy always said, should always look like a lady. But, she would add, a scientist should never let fashion get in the way. Even if Annie was sometimes good at being daddy, she was definitely no Mommy. So we mostly sat on our hands and chairs as Mandy had all the fun with Will. Mandy's mother had let her wear jeans and a T-shirt at the party, and as Rebecca put it, she looked like a mechanic. When it was time for pizza, at least we had something to do, but Annie insisted we use utensils so we wouldn't trip on our dresses. Our absent Mommy had been given credit by Mrs. Sims for our pretty clothes. Our absent Mommy had been accused by Mandy of being a poor present wrapper. And everywhere we looked, there were still parents milling. It made Annie try all the harder to be our parent. Cake time was better because everyone else had to eat with a fork, too. We silently thanked the universe that it was a sheet cake. If it had been cupcakes, Annie probably would have made us use utensils for those, too. I must say, Rebecca muttered to Annie as she ate the frosting, you're not making this fun. We might as well be at home cleaning toilets. It was unfortunately she said that because Annie had yet to assign any of us a toilet cleaning detail, and even the cats had started to complain. But then it was present opening time. If you can't have your own presents, it's almost as much fun as watching someone else open up his. Moving from smallest to largest, Will opened Mandy Stanko's first. Wow, he said flatly, trying to muster enthusiasm. A soccer ball. Will hates soccer, Rebecca said. No, he doesn't, Mandy hissed. Didn't you all see how enthusiastic he was when Mrs. McGillicuddy gave him those trading cards? And you, she accused Jackie, you said it was a wave of the future. Did I? Jackie said. I meant to say it's a silly game. The only reason anyone ever plays it is if they have no imagination. Why do you always have to be so mean, Mandy asked. We're not, Jackie said. We just don't see why you can never pay attention to people. If you paid attention to Will, outside of us, he is your only classmate, you'd know he hates soccer. Everyone knows, except for you and the McG. She turned to Mrs. Sims. Isn't that right? We didn't think Mrs. Sims would like to hurt any child's feelings, but he hates it, she said at last, even worse than taking medicine. We're sorry, Mandy, Jackie said. We wish it weren't true, but it is. Mandy scowled. To break the mood, Will opened our present. Oh, my. It was all Mrs. Sims could say at the grandiosity of it. I've always wanted these, Will practically shouted. Well, I didn't actually know they even made anything like this, but I always dreamed that someday someone might invent it, and I knew I'd want one. He turned to his mother. Can we set it up right here? Oh, Will, that nice lady said sadly. I don't think the Kids Castle people would like that. Besides, she consulted her watch, it's just about time for this party to end. Mandy's mother's already here. Of course, Mandy Stenko's mother was there. It seemed like everyone in the whole world's parents were already there. So we just need to wait for the girls' parents to arrive, and then it'll be time for us to go too. The girls' parents. Where were they?